I'm back. It's Joseph R. Wheeler III, artist, founder, president of the ONYXCON Foundation, 501c3 nonprofit arts and creative lifestyle organization. Okay, get my settings right up in here. I always have to remember to do this before I get going, because not just anybody can talk to me. You know what I'm saying? I only deal with my real supporters, so we put up the margins. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So if we got to block somebody, it's a show enough block. We don't deal with the riffraff. You know what I'm saying? We execute them. Yeah. So let me tell y'all about a funny thought, right? So if you're new to the channel, look around. Because every time I go live, I go through this whole spiel about what ONYXCON is, where we came from, what we do, what we are. And I try to do that just because I know that we're just now getting to the point of having the beginnings of what will be monetization. You know, once we get 3,000 watch hours, which we are very close to, I woke up this morning to 2020 watch hours. So once we get 4,000, the channel will be monetized. But even before then, when we get to 3,000, when I go live like this, they give you the opportunity, even without AdSense, where they put ads on your content, which they do anyway, but I'm saying you start making money on it at the 4,000. But at even the 3,000 watch hour mark, you can get what they call super chats and all these other things where, like, you know, if you're live, somebody wants to be acknowledged for their comment, or they just want to send you a donation while you're live and let you know, hey man, I'm watching, I appreciate what you do. Cheers to you, you know. $5, $4, any dollar, $10, 20, 25, you know what I'm saying, 50. I watch a lot of people on YouTube that they be getting it. They get a lot of good support that way. So we got next, you know what I'm saying? Our turn is coming up. Water be tasting so good when it's hot outside. Oh my gosh. That's all I drink anyway is water. A little juice every now and then. That's it. No liquor, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll taste some wine. Just, you know, if I got a lady friend come over and she wants some wine, I'll get a bottle. And it's all hers, you know what I'm saying? But I'll take a little drip drop just to see what it tastes like. If she keeps saying, oh, it tastes so good, you ought to try it. Okay. Oh yeah, it is nice. Okay, yeah, this is all you. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. But anyway, let's get back on topic. So I was gonna tell y'all just some random thoughts about some stuff that made me laugh, right? So in doing courier work, which is my side gig right now, while I'm all, you know, awaiting the next, I won't even say awaiting, just seeds are planted and we'll see, they'll grow when they're supposed to for film work. And that's something that we cover here too. It's one of our many topics as we deal with the art world, but as an actor, writer, producer, when it comes to looking for the next opportunity on screen, you know, it's kind of slow right now in Atlanta. Even for doing behind the camera work that I do also, like PA work, production assistant and other stuff. It's just slow right now. So anyway, so I do this courier thing, right? And I got this order. You probably see the little bamboo things there behind me, right? So I ain't gonna get all into any more specifics other than just speaking of what the items made me think of when I had to, you know, go get this order. I jumped on it because it was, you know, ain't none of it a lot of money, that's for damn sure. But it was decent considering the amount of time out of my day. I said, all right, bump it. I'm always saying, like, as long as, I hate to waste up gas with long rides that are over 10 minutes, because almost the average ride is always 10 minutes to any particular drop off, right? But every now and then, it'll be one that, you know, is shorter than that, but still pays you what you would want in an hourly wage, you know what I'm saying, like $15, and it only took you 15 minutes. But then you had to maybe go shopping too, so add in that 10 minutes, and then you still gotta drive back to the store, so add in that 10 minutes, because you gotta get near your location if you want the next order, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff is a whole game to it. But anyway, I get there, and they want these little, as they call them, one of the ways they're referred to, the tiki lamp. Okay, so if you know what a tiki lamp is, that's what those are back there that I gotta drop off, right? And you know, I was like, oh, okay, they want some tiki lamps. And then I was like, it's like, as I was getting them, I thought to myself, because of the area I'm in, let me make this clear what I'm saying. The area I'm in Metro ATL. See, Atlanta is the city itself is not really that big. A lot of people have a big misconception about my city and understanding. And when I say my city, I'm talking about all of it, all right? But it's when I speak of the city, I'm saying that the show enough Atlanta inside of Fulton County, the urban area, the part with the skyscrapers and stuff, it's small. It's not a huge city. Even as they keep building new buildings, you know, Midtown is blowing up and all that. But that land was always there. It just didn't have a whole bunch of skyscrapers on it. Now it does, you know, near Georgia Tech and all that. If you know Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. So all of that, yeah, okay. It's urban like a mug right now. It's very urban. But around it, even near the city itself, you got like, you know, old plantation style mansions that sit behind the skyscrapers and these forested areas and everything. That's the beauty of Atlanta. Is like, you know, we still have trees and forested areas and stuff right there next to the city and stuff like that. You know, Piedmont Park, the main park in the city, is a pretty big park with nice greenery, you know, a lot of good trees and stuff. So anyway, my point though is the metro area, the counties that surround Fulton that are known as the ones that are integral to Atlanta's growth and economy is the best way to put it. This is how I define metro area, and this is how those who created the term define it, because it don't matter about a bunch of local yokels all mad talking, well, that ain't Atlanta and this ain't Atlanta and that, yeah, all that this ain't Atlanta stuff don't even damn matter to folk who really got the money, because they'll live in Smyrna, they'll live in Gwinnett, they'll live in anywhere else and control everything, while folk in the city argue about districts and stuff that they don't even have no ownership, have time, no control, no nothing, right? But when you get off in them boonies, then it kind of gets into some of the stereotypes about Georgia, you know, about all the old towns and, you know, conjures images of the plantation South and all that kind of stuff, right? And some of that can still be true, unfortunately. You know, some of that can still be true. But it's a huge misconception that that's just the automatic way it is, especially, and people coming from other places that don't really know Atlanta, they tend to want to live in the city because of that, because they scared to live outside, just 30 minutes outside of the city, because they just swear everybody out there is out to get them, you know, if they're of a, you know, certain political perspective, certain ethnicity, certain ethnicity and financial ability and education, you know what I'm saying? And I get it, you know what I'm saying? As a black man myself, educated black man living out here, but you know, I'm in the boonies, but it ain't no thing to me because, like I say, I'm from here. So all of the whole state is familiar in ways. I have not been to every corner of Georgia, but I've been to damn near most. And it's all relative, no matter where I'm at. There's just a vibe, you know, it's like, you know your state, you know your state. So I've said all that to say this about my joke. And it's gonna pass right over most people's heads, especially, I hate to say it for my international folk, unless y'all keep up with US news, you're not gonna understand this joke. But basically, you know, I'm getting these damn tiki lamps or whatever. And which, by the way, let me say this. Tiki, T-I-K-I, is from Polynesian culture. It's very important to remember this note as I make this point, right? Tiki references the tiki gods and goddesses of the cultures of the Polynesian peoples, all right? It's a Polynesian word, okay? Those were brown people who came to the islands of what is now known as the Polynesian Islands, originally from, like everywhere else in the world, people venturing out from the motherland, Africa, okay? In human evolution of how we all came out of the motherland and went everywhere else, and everybody became all these other ethnic groups in time, in evolution, in development of, you know, the changes that human beings go through because of wherever we are in the world, adapting, etc., right? No matter what, there's only one species, Homo sapien, we all human, right? So anyway, so we get to this thing where it made me laugh. I said, okay, somebody wants all these tiki lamps. And I said, oh, that's cool. Maybe they're decorating for a party or something. Then I thought, wait a minute. I said, last time I saw a bunch of fools in this area where this order is probably being requested, it's mostly white and it's mostly real southern. And there was a thing that happened a few years ago where some of these good old boys call themselves gonna be the tiki somethings or whatever. and they had their torches, and they walking around yelling their garbage and all this horrible hate message and stuff. Now, before I go any further, let me say, views and opinions expressed by yours truly have nothing to do with those of ONYXCON's affiliates, associates, sponsors, etc. Y'all know the rules. Anyway, so then I thought, wait a minute, why they want so many damn tiki lamps? it just gave it, and it made me laugh. It was an uncomfortable laugh because I thought to myself, how sad that an item misused one good time in history can really shun that thing and destroy that thing for generations. Like, you know, it takes time for people to forget a label, a stigma, something being associated with something negative. You know, things that make you go, So I was going, like, wait a minute now. You know, and I mean, for some of the places I have to deliver and stuff, I've been in situations where you straight up, you pull up and you see certain political perspectives on the lawn and everything, stuff that I'm not about, that I'm not with. You know, we're 501c3 nonprofit, so we ain't about to get into, you know, who I'm gonna vote for. You know, the great time we are in when, you know, I see the value in an intelligent woman taking her place in history. You understand? But I'm not here to push that. I'm just, you know, like I say, my perspective, right? So I just, you know, so I've been in situations where you pull up and you see the nuts, see the stuff, you know, you see the stuff on the yard, you see the whatever. But I will say this, hey, all I ever roll with first is, hey, respect for respect, just common human decency. If ain't nobody acting crazy, it's whatever. It's just a delivery. It's simple and plain. I don't care what you're doing with whatever you're gonna do, you know. But it did just cross my mind, like, I wonder if this got something to do with, you know, and it's sad that had to cross my mind. And I thought about, like, the sadness is, it's not my fault I would think that. It's a result of seeing something associated with something quite out of place in the way it was used, and quite out of, and it, to make it even more ridiculous for a group of folks who were preaching, you know, racial hate and separation and stuff. You're taking an item that's named after something from a culture of brown people and claiming it for your little mess, and got the audacity to still use the original word and call yourself the Tiki somethings or whatever. I'm not even gonna say the name, y'all. If you know the history of what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to get, all I'm gonna say is Tiki, because Tiki's the only word that's honorable in this equation. And I wanna respect that. That just makes me laugh that these folk would do that. Like, God almighty have mercy, look at this goo-goo, you know? So now going forward, it's, like I said, it's been years ago, but you know, we back in a voting season. We can't say that. We can't tell you to vote. I definitely highly recommend voting, okay, for the power it has. And some people, what power it has? It don't have no power. Some people are so negative about that and don't understand what the process really is, and how anything, like, I always tell people, voting is like, the way I always answer that, I say, look, voting is like spending your money. Every time you make a purchase, you're voting. That's one form of voting, because you're voting towards a product. Even if, yeah, what do you mean I'm voting? Yep, if you eat vegetables and you buy a lot of vegetables, the system says, well, a lot of our people are eating vegetables. We need to invest more in vegetables. We need to make sure our export and import always includes vegetables, because that's helping the economy. Every time you make a purchase, it's a part of the entire economy for your nation. You know, that is the whole concept of the stock market at its simplest way of looking at it. And I'm not no stock expert or nothing like that, but I understand the basics, you know. So every single purchase, I don't care how big or how small, and if you got any kind of stocks, you know, fractional, big stocks, trust fund, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to explain it to you, because you see how 2 or 3 cents from a bunch of different places adds up to dollars, that adds up to more dollars, that can add up to rent being paid, college tuition being paid, that vacation you want to take being paid, that next technological thing you want to buy getting paid for. It all goes together, right? So, you know, that's at the end of the day, politically, you know, because like I say, that's not what we're here for, but it is relative. And even though, according to the rules, can't be on here promoting or endorsing directly. You know, I can indirectly do whatever the hell I want to do, and so I do that. If you're smart enough to read between the lines, you know what time it is. You know who I'm with and why I'm with her. Okay? You know why I support her. You know why I'm staying with her. The hell with him. You better get out of here with him. We all about her right about now. In her story. Okay? Yes, for real, believe it. Deal with it. And I want to run you away. If you on that other mess, I don't even want you here. I don't need that negative energy to be a part of what I'm building. I need people who are logical, people who are progressive. Oh man, that's beautiful. I'm looking at something as I go by, because you know how something's being built and it wasn't finished, and then you see it finished, you're like, oh wow, they did a good job with that. That looks nice. That looks really nice. It's cool. Yeah, they did that. They did that. But anyway. So yeah, y'all, you know, I just thought about the whole thing when I saw that. And then I thought about how that applies to a lot of things. Like, man, there's so many symbols in human history. You know, and this as an artist, I've always been intrigued by this. I've always been interested in knowing this stuff and knowing the truth. Not the emotional reaction because of something that happened within a certain amount of time and then it turned people against something. So, you know, as I say, like, I did get my little feeling when I saw how many of these things somebody wanted, and for the region I'm in where I was delivering, I thought, oh boy, I hope it ain't about that kind of mess. I hope they ain't getting ready for another one of their little ass backwards parties. And I'm up here delivering, you know, I'm just doing my part on the service. I'm here to do a job. I got a job doing the job, finish the job. And I'll never feel no way about that, because at the end of the day, I'm not supporting, if that were the case, I'm not supporting that. But I'm supporting my household. I'm making sure I got what I need, which we all got to do. And as long as I'm functioning, I can keep doing this. Fight my good fight. I ain't worried about the rest. It's whatever other people want to do. That's their business. It's whatever they, and like I say, in the whole scheme of things, the whole equation of how karma works, boy, you talking about the comeback on on being stupid and ignorant and misusing people's iconography and words and energy, and a lot of people take that stuff for granted so hard they just don't think there's ever any recourse for it. But if you really learn and study history, you'll see time and time again, oh, it definitely comes back and bites you in the ass, even if it's as simple as at some point you're the joke in history, like just a total joke. Like, people got you in the textbook as those folks who did this thing that is so absurd by, a later standard, that has evolved to realize how backwards that was, that has evolved to realize how did we even allow people like that to coexist thinking that way. And I mean, because you got to deal with everybody regardless, but it is it's stifling. It's something to see when you see it come full circle. For a brief other example, it's like when I was somewhere in high school, maybe even middle school, I'll never forget first seeing what is commonly known as the swastika, only associated with Nazism and all that hate and craziness, right? And that's all I could think of anytime I saw one. Then I realized, wait a minute, this is an ancient African and Asian and Native indigenous to the Americas, indigenous people's symbol. Quite frankly, it's been used in ancient cultures since the beginning of time, but especially from the oldest humans, that being Africans, okay? It was a symbol, and it did not have nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with white supremacy. Not a damn thing. Say that again, not a damn thing. It only had to do with balance. It was a symbol of balance. It was a symbol of direction. It was a symbol of elements. It had everything to do with something metaphysical of a higher consciousness, not a low frequency image. And quite frankly, almost, if you really go into most ancient symbols, that's the truth about almost nearly every ancient symbol. And whether, no matter how it was misused or redefined by other later generations and stuff, that's just people taking something and they want to turn it into something for themselves, want to make it something negative, want to make it something that means something else, when no, originally that meant something completely different. And this applies on a lot of levels. That applies on a lot of levels. For example, another one I'll give you. You know, it's easy to point out the ones with the insanity of white supremacy, but on a more direct cultural level, because I always say for the cultures, plural, because I don't claim everything that everybody so-called black does just because I'm black. You know, yeah, I'm black, but I ain't black like, you know, it depends on who's talking. Everybody, you know what I'm saying, like we got a phrase, you know, one of many, and say every skin folk ain't kinfolk. You know what I'm saying? So, and I damn sure don't start at just no complexion stuff. That's so juvenile. So anyway, you know, it's like the whole issue of, and I made a video about this one time, because I remember back when the crisis, the health crisis was going on, and some folks didn't have immediately the mask that were being suggested to be used. So some folk would just be wearing like bandanas and stuff. And by bandanas, they would wear those traditional bandanas that people have worn for ages in America and other places in the world, but especially in American history, going back to workers, especially. It was always work. It was first work gear. Okay, it was used for work, especially. It became a statement of fashion and decor, but when people see the traditional ones with the paisley or the little crosses and the stars or any of those little elements that are on a traditional bandana, some people, because of, like I say, one situation multiplied by generations of incidents and things in a person's life, because I had a crash. It literally said, the screen said, YouTube crashed. I said, oh, damn. Well, their video is done, you know what I'm saying? But nah, it came back on and said, are you interested in continuing? I said, yeah, sure. Oh man, I swear. Wow. Okay, y'all. Okay, so as I was saying, just to give a recap in case it did just completely jack up my last feed, I was talking about how items, tangible items and symbols, you know, iconography, emblems, things can have a positive start, and most things that human beings have come up with from ancient times do have positive origins, progressive origins, good energy, not low frequency, not negative, not hateful, not divisive, none of that, right? But over time, with the issues of human beings, the same symbols get redefined by certain groups with alternate agendas and their particular perspective on something. So at a certain point, certain emblems, certain imagery, certain colors, certain brands of things, whatever it is, becomes something that from place to place, it has different meanings. You know what I mean? And I was talking about how I had an order during my courier thing on the side where it was a bunch of tiki lamps needed. And I said, the thing is, at first I was just getting them, and then they needed so many of them. I was like, why do you folks want so many tiki? Wait a minute, tiki, what was the name? And my mind did one of those relating something to something that happened. There was this negative incident with this hate group. If anybody's from America, you already know what I'm talking about. That was marching in the streets, and it was so bad. Let me put it like this: for anybody who don't know about it, because I know how some people are very narrow-minded and think, you know, that if someone points a finger and says that they were negative, oh, how would you say that? Why? What? You know, I always love to pull on some popular culture, because I know certain people are loved by so many people that if that person says that's some bullshit, most people be like, yeah, okay, I agree. So The Rock himself, the legend, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I'll never forget when this incident happened with this hateful tiki group. They were using the word tiki, which is a foul thing to do in this, and I'm gonna tell y'all why in a minute. Yeah, I'll never forget, he came out about it and said something about, like, you know, in so many words, like, you know, y'all on some BS, you know, because it was a hateful moment. It turned into a hate crime incident and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous for this day and time in America for this to be happening. Right. So it usually takes that kind of reaction from somebody on that level because some people literally, like, they, you know, they don't think that they're doing anything wrong. They think they're just fine to be that crazy. And it's so messed up. So anyway, so I thought back to that incident when I had to get these doggone lamps, and I thought, I sure hope this ain't having to deliver to some group of nutballs that's about to do some other kind of demonstration or something, right? And the other thing that made me think that was like when I got there, most of them in the area where they would be stocked were gone. Like it was just the last of them left, and I still got enough for whoever the person was, what their order was. Even that's gonna be funny too. I'm gonna tell y'all what I realized about who possibly had ordered these. So so I got to, and so I'm thinking the whole ride, like, man, I gotta go out here to the further boonies. I mean, I'm in the boonies as far as Metro ATL is concerned, but I had to go even further into the boondocks to deliver this. I wonder if this is some old nutballs, because it's a stereotype that can be true. Keyword can be true, that you know, you get out a little further away from Atlanta, you're gonna be dealing with a certain type of perspective on things, and folks ain't really trying to change. They just gonna be how they done been. And if they see it as hate and you see it as hate, they just see it as the way to be. You understand? So anyway, that's what I started wondering, right? If I was gonna be rolling up to somebody's house that's on that kind of vibe. But what was really funny about the whole doggone thing, right? When I pulled up at this really nice, I mean brand new house. I'm telling you, that thing was nice. Like probably one of them $750,000 houses. Definitely a $750,000. Hell, could have been right at a mill, to be honest with you. It's out there. Like I've been out that way before, so I knew where I was. Yeah, it wasn't strange to me. I knew about where I was, and I knew that most of the folk who out there are kind of like, you know, the good old boy type crowd and whatnot like that. But so it kind of shocked me, right, when I got out that car and I got the person's order and I'm taking it up to the door and I get it to the door and I see this here decor on the door that said Happy Juneteenth. I could have rolled on the lawn laughing as hard as I was laughing inside. Oh man. Now, if you Black American, you got that joke. If you understand what black folk been through in this country, you got that joke. If you understand American culture and where we are, where we have been and where we are and where we might be going, you understood that joke. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I was laughing, y'all. I said, well, it don't get no better than that. It don't get no better than that, because I myself and just, hey, to be very honest, in all my innocence, I stereotyped the area, okay? I stereotyped the item because of something that had happened, and I stereotyped the area I had to deliver it to, assuming that made it even worse of a possibility of it being exactly what I guesstimated. And it was so more than likely opposite, because no one came to the door. I never saw a person that lived at the house. So to be honest with you, hell, you want to really make it funny, and this is just how beautiful the world can be in many ways these days, that some people really don't understand. That's how diverse we really are. The person could have came to the door, and they could have been somebody who sound just like that. And they could have been of a brighter complexion and everything. And they would have said, we just love Juneteenth, and we have our black friends over, and we have us a big old party. You know what I'm saying? You never know. You never know. And I think that's cool as hell. I think that's cool as hell. I think the more that happens, all of the hatred and stupidity that we endure, okay, in trying to figure this life thing out from human to human group, would just completely, it would boil down. It would become, we just had to figure out something else to get frustrated with each other about, because that would be the last thing on the agenda. And I don't feel like in certain places and amongst certain groups of people, enough progress has been made for that to just happen immediately. In recent years, there's been enough crazy stuff happen to let you know this is not a post-racist, post-hate kind of culture. People still be tripping over some BS, you know? And people still have all this nonsense that they find a reason to not get along about, you know? So when you see those little sweet moments like that, what just happened, I just thought that was awesome. I just thought that was awesome. It was hilarious, and it made me think, wow, okay, yeah. Just don't stretch your imagination so far. I always say there's nothing wrong with thinking of all possibilities, so that nothing shocks you when it does go a certain way, but leave your mind open to the possibility of it being what you could never imagine. Because there are other people who think outside the box, who live outside the boxes, who do things outside the boxes, who have a lifestyle outside the boxes. You know, and what I mean by boxes, I'm saying there are stereotypes, and even a lot of that is based with agendas and people who want to push a certain narrative about certain groups of people. Like, you know, there's some folk, I mean, black and white, who if I told them where I was going, they'd be like, oh man, be safe over there, man. Oh my gosh, because they just swear when you pull up, there's going to be a burning cross in the yard or something. Like, no, man, like, it's not that. It's not that. I'm not ever going to say that things can't happen, but I'm saying I hate the automatic assumption, okay? That's a problem. That's what we got to work on. All of us. I'm saying all of us. You know what I'm saying? We got to work on that. Some of us more than others, you know? And what I was talking about before I had to cut off was in reference to, I was talking about, and I said the other problem with symbols and things that get tainted, they get sullied by human activities and circumstances. You know, people go through pains, they adapt things to their pain, they create emblems based on things that are older, you know what I'm saying? Things that have nothing to do with what it is, you know, becoming associated with by a group that is typically less creative, depressed, dealing with a lot of mental trauma, and as a result, you know, when you're dealing with all those things I just said, your creative energy is on a low frequency. You don't have what it would take. You know, creativity comes out of positive energy. Real art, genuine art, comes from a good intention. You know, even if it's about something that's negative, it's to heal. You know what I'm saying? It's its own form of medicinal energy, the arts. So when people go and misuse that energy, that is so backwards. And it happens with anybody's culture. So, you know, as I was just talking about the racial issue of it all, sometimes within quote unquote racial groups, because all that is, you know, a construct, but just to speak the terms for societal reasons to make the point, you know, I was saying how the concept, the article of accessory known as the bandana. As soon as you say the word in some places in America, it just conjures up imagery of flags used for gang culture. When the reality is, those things are so much older than urban gangs in America or anywhere in the world where they've adopted that because of how it's been used in America, right? That is not the original way those articles of clothing, accessories, were made, intended, and especially not the symbols and motifs that you find on them. And I've talked about this before. I might make an official video outside of a live, so then I can, you know, do a real thumbnail and all that cool stuff and really break it down. And I'll even, you know, if I decide to do that, I'll give my references that I'm talking about. I love to do cutaways to actual screenshots of information, show you the link so you can go look at it for yourself, you know, because we're in this world of AI, everything. And I'm not against AI when used properly. When it's used properly as a tool and not as a crutch for weak ideas and people trying to push weak agendas and stuff that ain't even true, but they just, well, you know, if I can create this image in AI, everybody gonna believe it's true because it looks so convincing and it looks real, and I can, you know, and there's different types of AI, but I'm talking about when they use the kind for image generating that looks like real people. Like I saw something just the other day. The information, what they were saying, I know to be true. The imagery was a little, in my opinion, stretched. It's not what it wasn't. It was about, and I'm going on a tangent real quick to say this. It was about the history of how Africa. I'm always an advocate for the truth about humanity as a whole coming out of Africa. So anybody explaining that and doing it proper justice with real information, I champion that. Because that's a very important thing for all humanity to understand and recognize. Because I always say, if you understand the seed of anything, if you can respect the root of your existence, there should be no hate, because then you know you all family. You know what I mean? When you really know that, there's no room for no hate, because you like, at the end of the day, it's just cousins. You know what I'm saying? It's the cousins that's too far away, and so far away that you're so far removed that, you know, like they say in family, they say, who your peoples. In the South, we say this anyway. We say who your peoples, because back in the day when folk lived in a little smaller community, folk be marrying their cousins and stuff. Sometimes by mistake, and sometimes they knew it and they didn't care, because it's that small village mind state, you know, which is why they say in small clusters of people in village situations, people end up looking the same, because hell, they one gene pool. But it's been proven scientifically that's not exactly healthy. Over time, you get certain health issues because of that, depending on the, the demographic and what they eat and everything else, and body type, all that stuff. So, yeah. But anyway, they were talking about the history of how black folk got from Africa. Africans came out of Africa, eventually migrating over to what is now Japan. But it was using AI imagery in the imagery. And the AI imagery had folk dressed in kimonos and shit with Afro puffs put back in knots that look like traditional, men and women's headdress from what they call feudal Japanese period. Which I said, see, this, man, it hurts my heart, because it's not that the information is, what you're saying is absolutely on point. Yes, Africans did get there. And by the time they did, they had evolved. Like all of us are always evolving. When I say evolve, I'm not saying any on some, leveling up or being better. No. I'm saying your body is changing for the climate and everything. Your skin tone, all kind of things are changing. And in some cases, skin tone not changing too much. Like that's something a lot of people are uncomfortable with, but it's the truth. It's that whole thing, that whole fantasy about. I remember when I was young and didn't know better because I hadn't studied it deep enough. I thought it was as simple as, well, if it ain't sunny there, the people gonna get pale. No. The indigenous people who live in the Himalayas on the mountain, in the mountain range area, way up high altitude, they're close to the sun all the time, because the sun is beaming on them on those mountains. So they still brown skinned, even in them cold temperatures. The Inuit people, okay, which is the true word for what folk call Eskimos. I don't say that no more, because when you know better, you do better, okay? It's not the Eskimos, it's the Inuit, all right? The Inuit, and then there's a whole bunch of other group names, but that's one of the primary groups, the Inuit, okay? They are brown people, they're browner because, like I say, again, it's roots, it's ethnicity, first and foremost, what's in your gene pool. Then you add in exposure to the sun in different ways. Folks still get what they get. And then feature-wise, those are not, definitely not quote-unquote white people. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with those folks who are quote-unquote white people. I don't have those issues. I have an issue with when people want to lie about what things actually look like, could look like, do look like. Even to this day, certain media don't want to show what people look like in some countries, because they know that if you really showed how the population, like if people could see that, for instance, in República Dominicana, Dominican Republic, yes, there are dark brown Dominicans, African featured in the way that some people, make that like there's one feature of Africans. That's the biggest bullshit. There's no one look. There's never been a one look. But for those who want to push that narrative, they want to make it like round face, very dark brown to very, the blackest black melanated skin tone. And that's it. And those are the Haitians. But everybody else who's like my complexion, got my kind of features or anything, my complexion or whatever your features, oh, those are the Dominicans. No, some of the Dominicans look like what you could say are the Haitians. Because they cousins. Same island. And a whole lot of twisted, messed up history. It is what it is. But if you know the truth, you ain't mad about it. You just deal with it. You're like, yo, family, what? Familia. keep it pushing. Let's not get caught in the dumb stuff. People love staying in the dumb stuff. So like I said, in this video, they had all these images where what was like the darkest melanated tone with the way the AI had rendered them or had been told to render them from somebody's request and what they came up with. And like I say, it was strong images, but that's the problem. People believe strong images. Convincing images can really mess up history. People be like, oh, it's true, I saw it. Yeah, what you see? It looked real official. What did you see? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not with that. I don't like that. I don't like that kind of mess because it's not helping the truth get told. It's actually pushing it back. Because as long as somebody, you know, can say, oh, no, that can't be true because this, that, and the other. And if even what they're saying is true, but then backing that up, they tell another lie on top of it to say, no, and it should be more like this because they want it to still go with their little agenda or whatever. Okay, so then there's just a bunch of bad information, and nobody's got the actual freaking facts. That's a problem, people. That's a problem. And so back to what I was saying about with bandanas, and I was explaining that, you know, a lot of the motifs that you find on them, these are ancient symbols. So it's like yet another example of something that with certain groups got a negative stigma, but it comes from something so positive and uplifting and meant to represent strength. The paisley itself is a representative of it's a symbol that represents a leaf of a tree that grows naturally in the Middle East, what is now the Middle East. So from ancient times, they used it in motifs in their tapestry, okay, weaving techniques and everything for design and decor, clothing, etc. They would put paisleys because it was supposed to, if you wore that, was supposed to represent, you know, you were strong and you're acknowledging a certain type of, whether it was a cultural strength, a tribal strength, whatever, but it was about strength. It was about something, it wasn't tied in with urban genocide, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean. I'm saying, like, that's one example of how that kind of thing happens. Then you got the other examples I gave earlier, you know, amongst certain white supremacist groups and what they do with symbols, messing up the swastika and all that. These are ancient symbols that were around way the hell before all of that. They had nothing to do with that hateful mess. It was about balance. It was about balance. That's what the symbol really means. To this day, you can go to a Hindu temple and you're going to see that symbol because it's a sacred symbol. It has nothing to do with all that evil mess. Nothing. You know? But, you know, if you're ignorant to that and all you ever been seeing all your life is one side of some one human perspective tainting something, you're going to believe the taint. Or you're going to get so fixated on that you're going to be quick to jump to arms and think, oh, man, these people are with the enemies, the folks who are on some evil stuff. No, that ain't got this ain't got nothing to do with that. But you got to learn, you got to read, you got to dig deeper, and so that's my like I said, that's my concern with what's starting to happen with a lot of misuse of AI. I see it all the time. I see people, because you can tell it to do anything, and for the most part, it'll give you something. Like you just say, yeah, give me an image of I don't know, Benjamin Franklin as still looks like his same features, but give him afro hair and give him tattoos like Rick Ross, since Rick Ross has a Benjamin Franklin on his stomach tattoo. And yeah, but make it look like he's sitting in a really old building from during the times when Franklin was alive, and put some I don't know, some Irish servants in the background. And if somebody puts this on freaking Instagram and says this is how he really looked and he had indentured Irish servants, some idiot is going to believe that. That's really sad, but that's how bad it is right now. And it's going to catch fire, and for months or weeks or whatever, people are going to debate it, argue about it in comments. One side will be saying, do you idiots not know that this was made up in AI and it's not real and that can't be true? And then some other folk will be saying, no, you don't know. It is true because this, oh my gosh, you gotta be freaking kidding me. That's how bad it is, y'all. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. So we're gonna keep talking about it. We're gonna keep an AI watch on. Every now and then I'll get on the topic of AI because this I think it needs to be talked about. It shouldn't be just something we all ignore. We see it and we act like we didn't see it, or we don't react. We need to be reacting to some of this stuff, man, because it's gonna become history at a certain point, and we can't afford for it to be misinformation. There's too much of that going on. That's my thoughts for now. I might go live later. Hope y'all enjoy. Hit the comments if you got something positive to say and real. Thank you.